Hi, it's Michael Kerr here, presenting Small Business Banter. A healthy micro and small business sector means a successful economy and a more vibrant society. Small Business Banter is about helping regional business owners better prepare for current challenges, but also for the next stage of business success. I'm Michael Kerr, founder of Kerr Capital, advisors to business owners. Each week, I interview a fellow small business owner or an expert, and they share their stories, their lived experiences, the wins and the losses, and their best advice to help you, the listener, get the most you can from your own business. Small Business Banter is brought to you from the studios of 104.7 Gippsland FM and is heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network. And thanks also to Kerr Capital, supporters of the show. Business Banter Community Radio and Podcast. Renée Hasseldine is my guest today. Hi, Renée.
Hi, Michael. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. What I'll do is I'll run through very briefly, and then you can give us some more filler. And we're talking mainly today about your role as CEO and founder of Think RAPT Systems, which is IP development, content creation. Prior to doing that, though, you had a pretty diverse career. I picked off some of them: author, writer, career coach, IBM exec, a ski guide up at Mount Buller, an auditor at PwC. That's a pretty wild mix. It's a healthy mix.
It certainly paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. Look, that's and what's really interesting about it is how you've ended up, and we're going to talk about your pathway to Think RAPT. Do you want to just flesh that out for us a little bit and tell us then why you got into and started Think RAPT?
Sure. I mean, I started my consulting business over 21 years ago, which is kind of hard to believe, really. But Think RAPT itself was kind of born out of, I guess, a need that I was feeling myself as a service-based business owner, and a need that I saw other people facing, but also kind of a passion for the way that I just like the world to be, which is ordered and organised.
I've come to understand that in some of the work we've done together.
Yes, yeah. I don't cope very well with chaos and messy thoughts and mess. I want everything to be very nice and ordered and organised so that I can understand it as deeply as possible.
I'm fascinated as to how you can apply that to a startup and a growing business. But anyway, we'll dig into that. And the reason we wanted to chat today is because you have wide experience as an employee, but you've just said you've had this drive and passion to do something, and you've done it. And it's been how many years since then? Since starting?
Well, yeah, 21 years since I started the consulting business, and since we created the IP that Think RAPT is now based on, I think that was 2016. I could around then.
Yeah, so it was an evolution of thoughts and processes and.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I was much more broadly consulting prior to that, and then I narrowed down into this development of visual models and intellectual property, around 2016, 2017.
Okay. So and look, the purpose is for those listening in, we want to tap into your experience on the way to founding and growing and investing all that time, money, and energy, and ultimately to get it to where it is today. So just briefly though, what is Think RAPT?
Sure. So Think RAPT is an award-winning pitching and proposal system that basically organises the intellectual property in a service-based business. So, for an expert who is fabulous at what they do, has lots of experience, when they try to explain their complex solutions to a potential client, if it is too complex, if it's too difficult for them to understand, they're not going to buy. So what the Think RAPT system does is simplifies that complexity into something that's easily digestible. So it allows a service-based business owner to streamline their service delivery, stand out in a crowded marketplace, and to scale and grow based on that IP.
Yeah, and the parallels with your own business are striking, aren't they? It's but so
it's very meta.
Yeah, sure is. Okay, so you focus on service businesses, 21 years down the line. So, as what are your biggest learnings today from 21 years investing in this enterprise?
I think I'd say that at least two of my biggest lessons are from things that I'd say three. The three biggest lessons for me are three things that I resisted stubbornly for many, many years. So one is about having a target audience, having a niche, choosing that ideal client avatar. I just, resisted that and thought, oh, that works for everyone else, but not for me, for a very long time. And having worked with hundreds, thousands of businesses now creating their intellectual property, it's one of the first steps in the process is we need to know who the audience is for these models, or the models are going to be too generic and not make any sense to your audience. So
it takes a lot of being brave to do that, doesn't it? To say, I'm only going to be focusing on a niche, because you don't want to miss out. The psychology.
Exactly. That's the thing, is like, that was the, the fear that I had. And I know that many people have, is that, well, if I cut down to this niche, I'm going to cut everybody else off. But actually you're much better off owning that space where you decide to niche or where your specialty is, than trying to appeal to everybody in a much broader audience, because, especially in a service-based business, I think,
Yeah, I reckon it actually goes across all businesses, to maybe not to the same extent, but, like who am I in business for and why, and why they're going to buy from me. But
yes,
yeah, so that was that is business strategy 101 almost. But
it is,
so
and I was stubborn about it.
That's okay. You wouldn't be a founder if you weren't stubborn.
Exactly right. And so then that comes to number two, is about the market research. I think it's very important to do the market research and to understand, the pain points that the audience has, and to really, you've got to start there and find out, is the audience actually also willing to spend money on the problem that they've got? There's no point in deciding, oh, well, my target audience for my solution is, single mums who are struggling, if they have no money to pay for your $20,000 product.
As good as it may be.
Yeah, because they, especially if when you do the market research, that mum is more likely to spend that money on her own children and other things before she's going to spend it on herself.
Yeah.
So, you've got to really do the market research and understand the problems and the wants of the target audience, and also if they're willing to spend money on this problem, even if it is painful, because some people won't.
Is it the case that you're better off to know?
You're better off to know before you invest painful years in, just
even if you don't want to know,
pushing it
maybe.
uphill. I'll censor myself for the radio.
Yeah. Look, again, important, but from your experience, I'm gathering it's a lot, and a lot of people can look through that and say, well, it's so good, I'll find the market, I'll create the market, they'll come to me and whatever.
If you build it, they will come. I mean, it's no, they won't. I mean, take it from me, one of my crazy ventures was I opened a vegan cafe in 2002 in West Footscray. I didn't do the market research, and let me tell you, I was 20 years ahead of my time.
But I didn't see that in the CV. So but that's rich experience, right?
Absolutely, it taught me that the very important lesson about market research. It really did. It really did.
Yeah.
It was a very painful lesson.
I like to call that intellectual property, or it's on your personal balance sheet as as experience, and unless you've dumped some money like that, it's kind of hard to imagine what it's like and how hard it hurts or how much it can hurt. So yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I'm kind of on a mission to prevent my clients from feeling that same pain. I guess it's like don't do what I did.
So we've got focusing on a niche. Market research is like incredibly valuable when you hear it from another founder and owner for other owners. So what? And number three,
and then the number three, which is also something that I resisted because again, stubborn. I think, and I'm the only founder who's stubborn, as you highlighted. Is that I resisted having a mentor or mentors or surrounding myself with other people for a very long time. I very much believed that I could do it and I could do it on my own because, I'm smart enough, I'm savvy enough, I can work it out and I will work it out and I'm determined and I will get there because I will just keep going and I'm ambitious, So I believed that I could. And you can do it on your own, but you won't go as far as if you have other people on the journey with you who can lead the way ahead, but also walk beside you. And I think trying to do everything all on your own is a big mistake. And I learnt that also the hard way. I probably would be a lot further ahead today if I'd sought support and assistance much, much earlier.
Yeah. This, the best encapsulation of the experience of from somebody born overseas. They came. I helped them acquire a business in Australia. They'd been born and been very successful in India. Had a very successful and a properly under management business. Got wiped out by the avian flu in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And his comment about entrepreneurship here was that there's this fantastic drive and desire to do it yourself, and I can and it's based on energy and it's based on skills, all the things you talked about, but there's only so much runway for those things. And then his observation was then a lot of people just fall over because some people can do it for 5 years, 10, 20, but a lot of people, there's a point where you just, that's it. And he said there's in where his business wiped out by like an external externality like an avian flu. So it was, but he said we were proper business owners. We had staff and everything, did governance, kept an eye on things, but it was their business. People worked in it, and we took the profit. So he thought of this fascination with DIY and I can do it all as just very limiting, which is kind of what you've.
Yes, and it's a fast track certain route to burnout. Like there's, pretty much guaranteed. And having hit burnout multiple times in 21 years, I can definitely attest to that.
Yeah, we might just immediately come to that. But on today's edition of Small Business Banter, chatting with Renée Hasseldine, the founder of Think RAPT Systems. So if you were to go back in time, you would get earlier advice and support from mentors to kind of circumvent some of that, the stress and the burnout. So do you use mentors and guides, or have you used them in even to the extent you talk with other business owners, or have you had formal, coaches, mentors, support?
I kind of surround myself with support in multiple different ways now, and it's sort of different at different times along the journey have called for different types and levels of support. It's funny, most people kind of think of me as very extroverted, probably just because I'm loud, but I actually am quite introverted. I do need quiet time and I do quite like to be by myself, which isn't a great thing if you're running a business. So I will pull on the supports that are needed for the time, and So I'll go in, I've dipped in and out of different networks depending on where I'm at in the business and what the need is. So, I've been a member of various different networks that I'll, turn up to and be part of.
So these are business owner networks.
Business owner networks, yeah.
Local chambers of commerce or...
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of different ones I've been like the Institute for Learning Professionals, the X Factor Collective, a number of different kind of groups that I've been in and out of over time. And, you develop great connections and referral systems by being part of those things. But also it's that, for me, a lot of it is about just the emotional support, because the people in your family don't understand the challenges that you face as a founder. Only other founders get it. And you can speak to them in a way that you can't speak to your brother-in-law or your sister-in-law or your, your cousin or whoever. They're not the same to talk to about your, the challenges you face on a daily basis, unless they're also business owners,
Yeah. I think those owner-centric networks, and there's some old school ones and there's some more contemporary ones, but the idea that you draw support and you chat regularly to other owners in a confident, Chatham House rules, whatever it needs, so that you can be open, because it is really hard to separate the bedroom and the boardroom, right? Home and and business, and it's a great area of support for owners that I don't think, and it's not just about you talked about. It's not just about networking so you get another deal. It's like just having somewhere to go where it's kind of understood that someone needs a bit of, don't need they don't necessarily need advice. They just need support. It's a very different thing. Yeah,
it's just sometimes it's just as a sounding board. It's just someone that you can talk to about the challenges that you're facing, whether that's, paying payroll this month or even, a trouble that you're having with a particular staff member or we had our best month ever, but I don't want to brag to my non-business owner friends because they're going to, think that
they'll think it's too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the highs and the lows, and just having a like-minded business owner group to speak to is valuable. I think it's something that I also avoided for too long.
Yeah. Can I just go back to the very start? And it goes to where the business is now and what you want to do with it. So has your aspiration for the business, did you have in mind that there was a timeline and some other KPIs about what you're going to do with this business when you started? Have they changed along the way?
I think things have definitely changed along the way. I've had 2 kids, or got married, had 2 kids. We live a pretty comfortable lifestyle in an eco village. So I think now that I'm here and where I am today, I work about 12 hours a week, providing for the family. It's a pretty comfortable place to be. We've invested the last couple of years into Think RAPT, building the intellectual property, building the systems, building the IP, making it a really scalable business. Yeah. And, but I don't want to work full-time in the business. I really love my family. And I love hanging out in our permaculture garden, and I love having balance in my life. And I don't want to be working full-time, grinding, hustling, doing all that stuff. So for me, it's a really comfortable place to be. I know other people would want it to, other people could and would do more with it where it's at, because it's definitely built to scale.
But it's also, maybe it's built to descale as well, in the sense that you're working hours that suit you. You've invested 20 years or whatever it is of time, energy, and money, and expertise and pain and suffering because I do know the system from a point of view of being a current client of to help with my own business, and it's extraordinarily well packaged and programmed and structured. So, but yeah, there is this, particularly when you talk about people being founders and in startups and scaling, it can be this sort of almost pressure on yourself or from others to grow 10x this thing and go global. And if that's what you want to do, you're probably well poised to do that. But you can also use all that to earn a good living, 12 hours a week. I mean, that's also as you said, a really nice place to be in, and it's aspirational nice for a lot of us. Sorry? Just this week, I'm tracking my hours because
I've felt like the last few weeks it's been about 12 weeks. And I'll say with the exception of I did recently run a 4-day training. So if we cut out the training because that's only quarterly, it seems like it's about 12 weeks, but I'm actually writing it down on the piece of paper right next to me. I have, how many hours I've been working this week, and I'm hoping it's going to be about 12, and I'm pretty excited.
Are you going to turn it into a visual chart?
Oh, yeah, we could. That sounds hot.
Well, I can't imagine it just being plain old, text and dot points, but that's all right. So you've got to
have the right tool for the job, though. I think in this situation, a table or a spreadsheet is perfectly sufficient.
Okay, so for you now, couple of things to your advice to other owners who maybe they're 10, 15 years back. They're passionate. They've got they've got core expertise. They know what they're doing. Would you go back over the 3 sort of things that you thought were a bit short?
Yeah, I'd say number 1 is learn from those 3 mistakes I highlighted earlier. Learn from those lessons. The other one would be really, and obviously I'm biased, but it would be set up your IP in a way that is scalable and get really clear on your intellectual property from as early as possible. If you're an expert, package up that intellectual property. The Think RAPT system's designed for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so just really quickly, intellectual property that's a very broad term. So, in a service business, is it your particular way of doing things? Is it your process? Is it your outcomes? What is it? We haven't got long, but
so essentially, it's your unique methodology for getting your clients from A to B. So, what is your USP, but how can we actually represent that visually so that
unique selling proposition.
Yes. Sorry, look at me and my acronyms. I've been out of the corporate world for so long, and I still can't let it go.
Yeah, but that means you do focus on service businesses, and there can be accountants, and there can be accountants if you go granular that focus on a wide range of different types of clients or different types of services. So getting away from being, not to pick on accountants, right, but just to say I'm an accountant, or I'm an accountant who specialises in working with family businesses on succession planning, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, so let's take succession planning as an example. Is that they would say, okay, well, if we're doing succession planning, this is our 3-step process to set that up, and then have that process. But also, the Think RAPT system has 4 types of visual models in a full set. So you'd first want to create a results model, which is a model that shows those business owners, the gap between the results they're getting, the results that they want in terms of that succession planning. And then what are the key ingredients for success would be going into their answers model. So if you want to have a successful succession plan, exit strategy, whatever it is, these are the key ingredients that you need for success. And then, okay, this is how we create it. This is the process model, our methodology. And then finally in the target model is, and these are the benefits of working with us. When you work with us, you get this, you get this, you get this.
Yeah, and that process, which I am going through, and as a client, and it's challenging because you do have to think of all those things. But I see the end game, which is that you become clearer on exactly what you do and how you do it, and so I think that's just you started a vegan business in West Footscray 20 years ago. You could use the same methodology of who am I serving, why, what are they going to pay for it, whether you're in a service or any other business, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, I would gift myself, if I could go back, I would gift myself the Think RAPT system and say, use this.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine?
Here's what I prepared earlier. Use this.
And you can imagine how apt it would be in West Footscray right now.
Oh,
it's incredibly.
It would be thriving a little vegan cafe and funky, over there now. I told you, 20 years ahead of my time.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice to think that, but it's also, we got to get the timing right, hey. Renée, it's been really wonderful to chat, for you to share with other owners, prospective owners listening in about some of your gold, those things that you learnt, you were quite happy to share with us. So I really wanted to say thank you for the time and effort today. Where do people catch you if they want to check you up, please, as we finish?
Yeah, you can check out the Think RAPT website. If you go to thinkrapt.com, that's think, like what you do with your brain, RAPT.com. Excellent.
And check you out on LinkedIn if they want. You're happy for people other founders in the spirit of, what we've talked about, sharing and being collegiate and learning. You're happy for people to reach out?
Yeah, please reach out on LinkedIn. Say, I heard you on Small Business Banter, and that'll be great. I'd love to connect.
Thanks so much for your time today, Renée.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
So that is all for today's episode of Small Business Banter. I continue to be inspired, bringing you small business experts and other small business owners and hearing their stories. If you want to listen to any past episode, jump onto your podcast platform of choice and search Small Business Banter. There you will find a diverse and fascinating collection of small business owners and experts openly discussing and sharing their experiences. For any of the links, resources, or information we've talked about on the show today, or to contact me, please head over to smallbusinessbanter.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And it would be great to have you tune in the same time next week for another episode of Small Business Banter.